and welcome to USA Global TV, home of Talking Heads, and hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio out of New York. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is the Mallorca Connection, and we have a great topic. It is great attrition or great attraction. The choice is yours. Joining me is my co-host and our featured guest for today, Mr. Roland Friedl from SPS. Welcome, Roland. Nice to see you.
Hello, Jacalyn. Yeah, good to see you. Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to have you. And as our audience knows, you are the co-host of the show. But today, this topic is so important. You're actually the guest. So I'm excited to hear more about this. So before we start drilling down on our topic about attrition and talent recruitment, I want to just highlight you and have you share with us about the work that you do at SPS and why this topic is important and relevant to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I founded SPS together with my partner as a training, consulting, coaching company because from my background of my career after university, I was also working for other companies in sales as manager. So in the corporate world, I had a very fast career. I guess I was the youngest member of board of director in an international company. So I get a lot of experience in both sides. And then I founded my own companies. And while to develop and grow my business, I brought external consultants and trainers to my business to help me, help my organization, help my staff. But what I found out is that this was not really what I was looking for, because there was a lot of guys, mostly younger than me, brought a lot of theory inside and they had no practical experience. So there were most of the guys I met, yeah, luckily not all of them are, they never sold successfully. They never have been managers or leaders successfully, but try to consult other people. So I decided I do it my own way. I coach my own stuff. I went through also to courses to educate myself on the methodology and stuff like that. But I gained a lot of experience about all these years, the last 35 years in different areas. And then a company came to me and said, Roland, would you also like to train my staff? So it started, and I said, okay, well not, and I had a lot of fun, and this company was growing incredibly within a year after my consulting, training the staff, and coaching the leadership. So I said, maybe I make out a business of this. So I started with this company years ago, and SPS stands for Partner Performance System. And we see each other as the ultimate people development and organizational learning experience. That's what we are doing. That's why we're partners.
Thank you, Roland. There's so much content there that is relevant. As we know, the whole workplace environment is completely different now as a result of the pandemic and people shifting from where they're living or are moving throughout this whole pandemic. And we're finding that people don't necessarily want to go back to an office. They want to have more flexibility. So when we think about this whole thing about finding, developing, recruiting talent, it's an important topic. And there's really the why, how, and what. So if we could start off with the why is this important? And for business leaders, organizational leaders who are listening, what do they need to know about this topic?
Well, actually, let's start with why is this so important? What I see from my experience and from other colleagues is that most of the companies worldwide, they invest a lot of money in recruiting, marketing, in sourcing and recruiting, but then most of them, they invest, not all of them, but most of them, they invest a little in onboarding and development and leadership. So on the other hand, they spend a lot of money to be attractive for talents, but once the talent signed up, most of the time nothing is happening, or nothing is happening that helps the talent to develop, to improve, and to stay in the company. That's what most is. So the result is that the exit rate is rising as a consequence of disappointment and dissatisfactions of this talent. And top performers, they are leaving the company. They don't stay anymore, and they move away to companies where they think it's less toxic from their point of view, and also where there's a positive culture, a positive spirit, and that's very important for them. So where they get support, they are acknowledged, and this creates an absolutely new sense of meaning, especially when you think about Generation Y, the millennials, who have a total different approach to the workforce. And this is a trend. I was reading a lot of studies about it, and I also interviewed, especially during the pandemic, I interviewed many leaders, CEOs, CFOs, CSOs from different industries, from different countries in the world, and they all say this trend is increasingly dramatically. So retention rate is really bad. Absolutely.
Roland, you brought up so many good points there. The first is, I just want to go back to what you said in the beginning, is the fact that many people operate based on what they've read. So they don't have the practical experience, but they have the education and the knowledge. You actually have both. And you've been doing this work for decades. So you are a master in this area. And I think business leaders would benefit greatly by reaching out to you. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, over here in the States, we definitely have a trend where people are leaving their corporate jobs and they're just fed up, they're disappointed, and there's a lot of disillusionment. And I know you touched on that. And they're actually looking to start their own businesses or find a place where the culture is really different. So what do you feel that we have now in terms of a marketplace and environment? Is it employee focused or employer focused?
Well, this is a very important question, and from my experiences, actually not for everyone in the corporate world, it is absolutely clear that we have a tremendous shift from an employer market to an employee market. Absolutely. Like years ago, when we look at sales, we had a tremendous shift from a seller to a buyer market because internet changed everything. So the buyer was much more informed than the seller itself, and he had a broader access to information. We had a shift there. And companies who didn't recognize that and didn't change and adapt their systems, they failed and went out of the market, or at least had a tremendous loss of market shares. And we see now the same on the employee side. So there's a tremendous shift from, as I mentioned, from employer to the employee side. And companies who will not recognize this and will not adapt, they're really going to struggle the next years. Absolutely.
How does that impact career development? So if you are an employee, and it used to be when I was starting my work with AT&T, you went to one company and you were going to be there for your entire career. And of course, that's so different now. People go from company to company to company in many cases. So how does this whole trend impact career development?
Well, first of all, as I said, there's a tremendous shift because the younger generation, especially Gen Y, millennials, they have emphasized on different things. When I look back, I'm 57 now. When I was young, I was hungry, so I was looking for a well-paid job, especially with a high commission to gain. So it's up to my work and what I bring in. Because I was hungry, I in my generation, living on the countryside, the freedom was having a car, to afford a good car. So in Europe, the cars are much more expensive than in the US. So we have been much more money-driven, success-driven than the generation now. But I had nothing, So I was really working hard to get a good job, and I was working hard to buy the things and have the things that I need, what I've believed 40 years ago, to be independent and get freedom. Now the generation, man, I have three sons, 31, 28, and 24 years. And I see a tremendous difference. So they were already raised up in a family environment where they have a nice vacation, they have their, I make some smartphones, I said iPhones, smartphones, iPads, computers, they already have everything. Their cars, whatever. So there is not this hunger, this burning desire to do something in form of getting money. So their focus now is a totally different one. What they're looking for is this: they're looking for a purpose. They want to do something meaningful. One thing. Secondly, they want to work in teams. They need peer groups. So I give you an example. A company I was talking 2 weeks ago, they said to me, "Hey, I hired a young person, but my problem is the rest of my team is much older. So this person feels really lonely and not accepted. So I'm looking for another company in the same area who also hired a young person. Then they can interact together and motivate themselves. So they need peer group. They want to work in teams. And on the other hand, they want to decide what they want to do. So they want more work-life balance. They don't want to do a classical 9-to-5 job. So they want to decide themselves, I want to work in the morning, or I want to work in the afternoon, or I want to work in the evening, whenever I'm fit. But I bring the results, but give me the freedom to decide how I do it and when I do it. That's the change. That's the three main points.
Thank you, Roland. I think there's really a lot of importance to what you shared about what the younger generations are looking for. They want that sense of belonging, being part of a team. And also, I think there's a lot of focus on the planet and sustainability and making sure that the planet is, that we're taking care of each other, we're taking care of our communities, and we're taking care of our planet. So I want to just touch on something else, another part of the why, when we look at this whole aspect of developing, finding, and retaining people, is onboarding. Onboarding has always been a huge expense to an employer. So when we look at the why this is so important, how is that impacting onboarding and onboarding costs?
Oh, it's very important. Well, we have to look at two sides on onboarding. Onboarding on existing employees, for example, when you do a merger, when you buy another company, to onboard existing ones, that is very, very, very difficult. Very difficult. I had a long conversation with a top manager in a huge industry, in a huge company, and they said, Roland, you know what? We bought a new company, and we thought 1 plus 1 will be 3 or 4. But at the end, because the onboarding didn't work, we made a lot of mistakes on the onboarding, meaning we didn't do a proper onboarding. At the end, it was not 3 or 4, so 1 plus 1 was 0.8. So we lost a lot of money. That's one point. And then the onboarding is to be attractive for new talents to come from outside. This onboarding is also very important, to really that they understand the culture, that they understand the system. What is doing. And on the other hand, very important that the leaders who are in charge and responsible for this new talent understand what this talent needs, what these talents are, where they want to go, how far they want to drive their career. Some people are more driven by their careers, some people are less driven. So to really find a space in the company where they can evolve and I say like bloom like a flower. Yeah? So the onboarding is very important. Most companies don't do it properly, what I see. So most of especially the sales-driven companies, they do a lot of training on the features of the product that they train. So they do a lot of product trainings, but most of them don't do any good soft skills training. So how to attract the market, how to communicate with a perspective, yeah, how to open this well, how to help this, how to understand the customer, how to develop a customer. This is what I see is missing. So the onboarding process is very, very important. And it's not only the HR department, I call them to their responsibility. It's also the leadership that has to be involved in the onboarding process. So mostly it's, especially in large entities, the HR, the human resource department is doing all the job, but they also forget totally to involve the leaders to develop later after the onboarding the new talent. And then they drop out.
That is a huge point about leadership and their commitment and their involvement, and also showing that to the employees that they do care, that they are available, they are engaged. So when we look at the why, we close out this part of the topic. What is a win-win situation for the employer and the employee? One thing that comes to mind for me is that, and I haven't seen this in a long time, but that leadership actually gets engaged with the employees. They actually learn who they are. They actually walk on the floor and stop in offices and introduce themselves and ask them what their ambitions are or what they're working on or how they can help them. I'm wondering if you would agree with that, and also what are some other aspects of a win-win for employer and employee?
Actually, it has to be a win-win situation for both sides, of course. It has a win-win for the organization, meaning that the talent brings his effort, his work power, his knowledge, and I strongly believe his creativity to the company. And on the other side, it has, of course, to be a win-win situation for the new talent. Yeah? So this talent has a safe environment. He knows there is a leader who is coaching me, who is guarding me, who gives me a safe environment where I can absolutely involve and develop myself, which at the end brings more benefit to the company. So it's connected.
Wonderful. Thank you. Again, it's such an important topic. I want to move from the why really to the how. And if you could talk a little bit about this 360-degree move, I think that would be wonderful to share with our audience what it is and why it's important.
Okay. So when a client approaches us and they said, okay, we need help because we're really struggling to find talents on the markets, and secondly, to bind them and develop them, we first start what we call a 360-degree move. Actually, move sounds English. It's move is forward, but actually it's abbreviation, as I'm working mostly also on the German-speaking country. Move stands for methodology, organizations, Verhalten und Einstellung. This means attitude and mindset. Yeah. So we look at both sides. Yeah. What from the methodology sides, we look at the organizational side, but we also look on the mindset and the attitude of the talent. So we look at both sides, and we do it in a 360-degree. Means we go with our client what we call in our SBS sparring arena with the SBS framework that has seven parts where we go all seven. Like we look at the skills, we look at the structure, we look at the systems, we look at the stuff, and at the end we have these shared values. So we have a 360-degree, which is very, very important, and this means that we talk also about cultural change. So when you have problems as an organization to be attractive for talents, and also to keep them, to bind them, then you have to look at the cultural change and the mindset transitions in these areas. How to be attractive for your talents? How do you do your talent acquisition? Yeah, how do you do your talent development? How are you leading and guiding your talents? And also, what most companies don't do is what I see is called talent mobility, what is very important too.
I think talent mobility is key. And if you could elaborate for our audience as to what it is and how it gets integrated into a corporate culture, that would be very helpful.
Well, talent mobility, I think, is it is nothing else than describing an employee's ability to move between positions within the corporation. Yeah. So mostly, give an example. Sometimes you hire somebody as an accountant because this person has an education accountant. You hire them, and then you see this person is not really happy there. You have two options: you fire this person, or you keep this person because you know this person has a good attitude, has a good work skill, but is not happy what is exactly doing. So maybe this person is more happy in another department. Maybe it's in marketing, or maybe this person is interested in sales, or whatever it is. So this means the ability to move in between the organization. And this is encouraging this mobility is, for me, a key element of good talent management, which also encompasses recruitment, hiring, training, and workforce planning. So the goal of talent mobility is to better understand the skills, the motivations, and the backgrounds of the young workforce. That's so important because most managers, most leaders lead by KPIs, key performance indicators, meaning, okay, sales, revenue, blah, blah. Yeah? That's the base, of course. But what's more important is to develop this person, to coach this person as a leader, is to look at on three aspects. I call it the triangle. It's the skills of the person, the talent, it's the structure, and it's the mindset. And all three have to be developed. And when you use talent mobility, this is to give this person a chance to learn different apartments of your organization. Maybe you find a place where these talents can really bring in the whole creativity. So it is increasingly important for me, for an HR department or an HR manager, to find ways to retain their top talents by offering this opportunity. Yeah. So they're not moving from your company, because we have to make it clear, to recruit a talent is very expensive. Yeah, it's costly. It's very intensive, especially the good ones. Yeah, it's top. It's very expensive. So why do waste all this money and this person is living to the competitor when it's not fitting into the special workplace? So maybe you find another place within your organization where this person can develop all his skills. And so this leads to a lower turnover rate. Yeah, it leads to internal mobility, the lower turnover rates. And what is absolutely increases, and studies show this, it's absolutely increases. That's so important. Employee satisfaction. That's absolutely important. But unfortunately, most of the companies don't have the right strategy for it. So there's a lot of, to summarize it, there are a lot of benefits of talent mobility strategy. First of all, it's a reduction to turnover costs. Secondly, as I said, you have a much higher employee engagement, motivation, satisfaction. So at the end, you have an overall improvement of productivity and satisfaction. Yeah, so it's more efficient. So I think it's HR departments, HR managers should not only look at the certificates on the rates from university, on their degrees. They not should only have a look on their skills, mostly on their mindset. Because most people are hired for skills and fired for mindset. My advice, and this is very costly. So my advice is hire for mindset and train them the skill. Find a place within the organization when you have a young talent that has a good mindset that fits to your culture. Yeah, give this person the chance through talent mobility to find his or her place within your organization and develop this person, and then both sides will have a win-win situation.
Roland, that's fascinating. It sounds like this talent mobility has a major impact on the bottom line in several areas. So, as you mentioned, it decreases turnover, it decreases onboarding costs, and it also gives the employee a sense of career development opportunities that they might not have had. So instead of just working in a job that they can't stand or not having the talents and skills that they need, they can work in other parts of the organization, which can have a ripple effect on cost savings and also on a culture where people feel recognized and rewarded.
Yeah, but I want to make it clear. It's only working when you hire the right talent, meaning with the right attitude and with the right mindset. Because most companies make the mistake to say that they hire because of their degrees and their skills. Because it's easy to say, because when the person is failing, it's easy for the HR department to say, it's not my fault. The degrees were perfect, the skills are perfect. It's not the VC was perfect. It's not my fault. But I think that it's too short thinking. It's about really getting in touch with this person, get this person to know and bring out the mindset. What's the mindset? What's the attitude? That's the most important thing. And then the next steps have to follow.
Before we move on to the what, I'd like to just ask your opinion about this based on your experience. So we've seen many times here in the States where someone works at a job for a long time, maybe they're on the sales force, and then they get a promotion and they're a manager, and they're a manager over the people they were just peers with. And they might not have the skill set, but it was a natural progression. Oh, Susan's been in her job for so long, let's promote her to a manager. So what are your thoughts about just putting people in roles because that's what's expected, or maybe that'll help keep people in the company longer?
Well, that's a good question. Let me answer in two ways. First of all, I want to come to this talent mobility. When you really practice talent mobility, you also have a good base to develop your own future leaders, first of all. And secondly, to answer your question, when I enter a seminar room the last years, or nowadays virtually online, with a new client, with a new company, with new leaders, my first question is always, are you here and are you a leader voluntarily, or didn't anybody else didn't want to make the job? Because what I mostly see is some people really want to become a leader and take all these consequences, and some people don't want to become a leader, but nobody else was saying, hey, I'm here, so nobody showed up, so they became leaders. And I see it especially in sales-driven companies where the best sales guy or best sales girl becomes the sales manager. And when this person is not willing and has not the mindset and attitude to lead people, and meaning, first of all, leading themselves and developing and educate yourself and learning how to train, how to coach people, this person will fail as a sales manager in this example. And this person will also fail as a salesperson because it doesn't have enough time to make their own sales. So it's a lose-lose situation. I see this very often that the person who has the most success in this department becomes a leader, but doesn't have the leading skills and is not trained as a leader. So there's a lot of money spent on team building. There's a lot of money spent from corporates on sales training and all this stuff, but there's not enough money spent on future leaders to bring them, to give them the leadership skills. That's what's absolutely missing. And we all know, I mean, maybe some people will be pissed off now when I say this, but what I see is, as a manager, when you step on this career, you go on the next level, you do better, so you go to the next career step and the next career step, and on some sense, you stop because you're not improving, you're not doing a good job, You're not really well educated for this job. You're not well trained for this job. You don't perform. The point is, you never step back in a career, mostly. You stay in this position. And then you have a weak leadership. And the point is, when you get fired or you leave the company because you don't perform, you step in another organization in the exact same level without improving. That's what happening is. We need much more emphasis on leadership training, and especially on the young talents, to see from the beginning, is there do they have the attitude and the mindset to become a leader in the future, and really help them from the beginning and to improve and to develop.
I'm actually laughing back here as you're talking, because it really resonated with me, everything that you were saying, because I've seen it so many times in the organizations where I worked, and also when I would call on clients. And you and I have discussed this before, that not only do we not have listening courses, how to listen, there's very few leadership development courses as well. So you think about all the training you get from the corporation, but are they giving you leadership development opportunities, or is it just, okay, you're here, we need somebody in the management position, we'll put you? And I think one of the big eye openers when you leave sales to go into management, sales, you pretty much have a lot of autonomy. As long as you can hit the numbers and get done what you need to get done, you can go off on your own and do what you need to do. But when you move into a leadership position or management position, that pretty much changes. So I think that's not something that's pointed out very often either. I would like to move on to the SPS framework. And when we look at attrition or attraction, what is that framework, and what are the components of it?
Yeah, so, as I said, we always look on all aspects of an organization, this 360 degree, and we call it our sparring area, where we meet our client in the sparring area, this imaginational sparring ring, like when you prepare for a box fight. And this is what we call our SPS framework. So we need this, and we use this to help decision makers to understand how well they are organized. So because we always say we want to understand before we want to be understood by our customers. So we use this framework as a base and look on all aspects of the organization. So we focus on 7 areas, and these 7 areas are: what is their strategy, what is their structure looks like, how is their systems looking like, how are the skills of the team members, what style, what leadership style do they have, how is the stuff looking like, what's the culture, and this all summarizes in the shared value. So actually the SPS framework is divided, when you look at it on the website, is in 2 categories: areas where the manager or the person is required as a manager, and then there are areas where the person is required as a leader. This is something totally different. Most people don't. Most managers don't know the difference. So you have different, when you want say so, heads on. Meaning, as a manager, you are focused on KPIs. You are focused on figures. You are focused on reaching a goal, and you are responsible for the organization. As a leader, you are more focused not on the goal, of course, but more focused on the way to go there, on developing your stuff. So you're more responsible for your stuff, for your team members, and you act as a leader also as a coach. Meaning, a leader combines management, responsible for the company's reaching goals, KPIs, and also combines being a coach and a supportive person to the team members. And so we look at this framework, we look at all these aspects, because, and we see it like a wheel, when you have a wheel, when some of these aspects is weak, then the wheel is not round. Then the ride on this race car, on this organization, it's going to be a bumpy road. It's not, but not because of the road, it's because of the wheel. It's not round, it's not turning around. So we look at all these aspects with the company. We don't pick out one, we look all of them point by point and point, and then we see exactly where the processes are weak, or where the structure is weak, or the strategy is weak. And then we find a solution how we help them, and we go together in the sparring area, and then we do whatever it needs, training, coaching, consulting, but we all do is from top down. So we always started with the executive management. So when they are not involved and don't want to be involved, we don't start the process at all. So our question is, when a customer says, yeah, let's do work together, my first question is always, on your list of prioritizing things in your company, this project you want to start with us, where is it ranked? And when it's not on number 1 or number 2, we don't start. So we want 100% commitment from our clients, because we give 100% commitment for success. We give a success guarantee. So we start in the beginning with 200% commitment, and that's what really drives us on. And I guess with the SPS framework, when everyone can have a look at it on our website, we can talk about it later, will exactly how we do this.
Thank you, Roland. It sounds like between leadership and the employees, and thank you for differentiating what management is versus leadership. It sounds like you connect them through shared values, and then you help reinvent the organization. So it sounds like this is a blueprint that you use that is in a continuum. So once someone works with you, is that an ongoing process, or is it a one-time thing?
It's an ongoing process, because no change is happening in a day. And the worst thing is, let's take just a training. You do a leadership training. The worst thing that happens is when a manager leader comes back to the team and everybody says, oh, he's acting differently. Oh, maybe he was on a training. That's the worst thing that happened. So it's a process, and it takes time, especially when you do changes in an organization. It takes time. I don't know if you're familiar with sailing. When you're on a sailing boat and you do a 180-degree turnaround, you will fail. You fall into the water. And the same is with a company. It takes time. Changes take time, because some people are really triggered by changes. Yeah. So it takes time to bring everything on board. And I said, first the executive management, top management, then the management, and then the staff. So that's why we do it in these 3 layers, to work with them smoothly, and then we will succeed at the end.
Thank you. And Roland, what I'm wondering is, just knowing people and tendencies of people, that when there is this reinvention of an organization and the focus of shared values, some people might not be on board because they might feel threatened. They might feel insecure. They might wonder, oh, how's this going to impact me? So what are some tips that you can give to leadership to be aware of this and prepare for it?
Yeah, what it absolutely needs is, when you do a tremendous change in an organization, is to onboard all your leadership, all your staff, especially with your leadership, because they are bringing the message down to the team members, is do an intensive coaching with them, a one-to-one coaching, because every individual is triggered differently because of the different history they have, of the different experience they have in their past. So what we also see in the training consulting field is that it's less about bringing 50 people or 20 people in a room and train them, because everybody has a different level of education, a different level of maturity. So it's more working with individuals to onboard them, to understand their anxieties, where it comes from, where's the root cause for it, and work on that. And then we start, because it's, as I said in the beginning, it's all about attitude and mindset. If the mindset is not there, so meaning if they're not aligned with the new goal, with the new strategy, with the new plan, then a skills training doesn't make sense at all, because they will sit inside and say yes, 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 but they will never change. So it's very important to do individual coaching with each person, understanding the root cause of their anxieties, why they're triggered by change, what's going on, help them to go through this process, help them, give them tools, to 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 handle this situation, and then keep going. But it is very important to bring everyone on board who wants to go with the organization in the next years, the next step. That's the first question, is always asking them, okay, who is on board? Who is aligned? And when not, maybe there's a misunderstanding. Maybe this person is triggered by something, or maybe we can sort it out. I guess it's, like always, it's all about communicating, having a clear communication with everyone, bringing everything on the table, discuss it, and those who want to go the next step, they will go, and those who won't go, maybe they have a better place in another organization. That's sometimes hard, but it is like it is.
Yes, I was just thinking that sometimes this is a great opportunity. There's a spotlight that is on the person, and they have an opportunity to walk through the door to do something else, so that someone else who really wants that position can be there. So, Roland, as we come to the end of our program, what I just want everyone to take away is that working with you, working with your partner, working with SPS, and the framework that you've developed, you're going to create, with the leadership in the organization, a more positive culture where people are going to stay in their position. So when it comes to attraction or attrition, the conclusion is that it's attraction.
Absolutely. Being attractive for the new talents, because then your business will growing. It's a change in the market, and especially with this pandemic that happened the last 1.5 years, even longer time is running. Especially when people are working remotely from home. When I speak, as I mentioned before, I did a lot of interviews during the last year with leaders and with staff about the pandemic, how they adapted, what's different for them, what their challenges are. And most of the staff said, you know what? When I sit at home in front of my screen working for a company, it doesn't make a difference who pays the payroll at the end of the month. So you have to be really clear about what is your cultural benefits to attract these people to stay with you, even when they work from home remotely. Yeah, it's even more challenging for a company to be attractive, especially when you have people working remotely. Absolutely.
And Roland, while I have you on Spotlight, if you can share with our audience, especially with the people listening on Business Talk Radio, what's the best way to reach out to you at SPS, and who would you like to contact you?
Yeah, just I guess the best way is to go on the website. It's www.spartner-performance.com. I spell it is SPARR, as double R, TNER minus. I guess you have a different word in the UK or in the US. Performance, PERFORMANCE.com. There you can contact us, and then we make a first call, and then we work through the framework that really helps you and provides, first of all, orientation for you, but it will also illuminate all relevant fields where there's a gap and where we can support you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for all this wonderful information that's so timely and relevant as we close out this year, and companies have their marketing budgets, their hiring budgets, and they're looking at how can they shift the corporate culture based on everything that's going on in the world. So brilliant interview, Roland. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. All right. We'll see you again next time, Roland. Until then, take care of yourself.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. So much amazing information. If you missed any of it, please go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV, and you can watch all of our shows there. Just click the little red button, subscribe. Thank you. Okay, coming up right after this, we have The Corner Bookstore with my co-host, who is actually our guest today, Diane Floyd Boehm. She is an internationally award-winning author, children's book author, and also she has done modeling. She's an actress. She's an incredible global connector. If you want to meet anyone, Diane is the person to go to, because she knows people all over the world. She's lived all over the world. So please do join us. That's coming up in about 15 minutes. Thank you again for being here. Thank you, Roland, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.